Boom, we are on. What's up? Doug Cunnington here from Niche Side Project. I'm nursing a cold, so I'm going to get real close to this microphone here, try and rest my voice. A lot of people call this sexy Doug. I don't know. Other people call it jazzy Doug. I'm not sure what you're into, but whatever it is, I'm not going to be able to talk too loud, and hopefully this is not going to be a problem. So we are here for the webinar on content. So I'm going to go over like two basically foolproof ways to create content. I'm actually going to do live demos, and I'm actually going to need your help. So people that are in the chat right now, I see we have a handful. Welcome. Please say hello in there. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if it's your first time on a webinar with me too. Always interested to hear. And I'm just trying to get this mic so I can sit with my back straight, a little more ergonomic. Also, I'm trying not to make a huge amount of noise. So while I'm waiting for the chat, folks to say, hey, what's up? Pratik from Atlanta, my old neighborhood. We got Tony on as well. I'm just going to mute here for just like 1 second so I can adjust this mic without, making a whole bunch of noise. I feel like I'm talking like the NPR people. They're just like really close to the mic and stuff. Okay, we got some other folks in. We got Duke. We have Marcel from Spain. What's up? And again, if you're just rolling in, this is the content webinar. I'm going to go over two methods, kind of my go-to methods. One is the FAQ method. This is what I used on like my very first like successful Amazon niche site, and it's kind of it is like a foolproof way to work on a niche that you don't know anything about. You don't know anything about the products, which that happens. You may find a great niche, great set of keywords, and then you find that you're not an expert. So this is a great way to approach it, and it turns out for most things, people are not an expert. So like it's kind of universal and it's relatable. So it's kind of like your visitors will appreciate it too. We have Evgeny, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Paul is on as well. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here in a second. But I will allow people a few minutes to get on. Dennis is on too. How many people, by the way, were on the live stream on YouTube a minute ago? I tried to paste the link in there later, but yeah, I have a new, I didn't bring it in here, but I have a new small like phone holder situation for a tripod, which is good. I had this old one from the, whatchamacallit, it's the Joby GorillaPod. So I had like a small GorillaPod thing, but it's a little worn out. It's about 8 years old. So it still kind of works, but I was like, I need something that holds it a little bit better. So anyway, I think it's I forget the brand, but it's a nice one. So, and we have, we have Tony. Tony was on YouTube. Duke was on YouTube. Save Full is from Singapore. Welcome. Must be late there. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and start sharing my screen here. So this is two ways to streamline content. So this is this is going to be useful if you're writing the content or if you have a writer working for you as well. So in both cases, it's going to be useful. Again, I'm going to go through demos, so I won't just I won't just be mentioning like the steps or whatever, but like we'll go through it for real. All right. And people can't hear me because no one complained yet, so I know you can hear me. All right. By the way, how many people have not been on one of these before? So I'm Doug Cunnington. I'm the founder of Niche Site Project, and Other Duke is on from Vietnam. What's up? And that's a picture of my dad and I there at Old Faithful. That's only, I guess, like from my door to get all the way to that point, it's like maybe 2.5, 3 hours. And that's our old dog, Brody, there. He passed away back in May. It's very sad. And then the other part is, this is the like, why should you listen to me section. And I've been featured or quoted in a few different places. So some places just, I was a guest, or maybe I guest posted. Sometimes they cite some piece of work that I've done. And most recently, it was over on Social Triggers by Derek Halpern earlier this year. So that was cool. I followed Derek since I learned about internet marketing. And if you are just joining, you'll notice my voice is super hoarse. I have a lot of warm beverages here. I have some coffee that I just made. I also have tea as a backup and 2 different flavors of throat lozenges. So I have a lot of stuff just in case. And if I'm about to cough, I may mute every now and then. So if it goes silent, that could be why. And then another quick housekeeping thing before I go on. If something freezes up, or you stop hearing me, or the video freezes, or you think it is frozen, try and refresh it. Let people know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to try and monitor it. But basically, a lot of times if there's some issue, it can be fixed by refreshing. That said, sometimes there's server issues and I have to like reboot and do all this other stuff. But I mean, I'm actually like plugged into Ethernet and I have fiber to the house. So generally my stuff is pretty fast over here. Unless it's not. Sometimes it's not, and then it is on my side. But anyway, refresh and let people know in the chat. And sometimes there are very helpful people there in the chat that will tell you what to do. So my niche site timeline. And I put this in here because, well, it's a reminder for me that, I've had some ups and downs. And, for everyone else, like I am able to give you information based on my learnings specifically. And right now I'm a white hat enthusiast. I'm not doing any PBNs or gray hat activities. And part of that reason is these dips down here. So I'll mention, it was around this time in 2013 when my first Amazon affiliate site made $6,452 in December. And it was super cool. And I thought, hey, I'm going to quit my job. I'm really good at this. It's amazing. I didn't do any work in December. Like all the work was done in like July and August. And then in mid-January, my site was penalized and my earnings dropped by a tremendous amount. It was very sad. I tried to recover. I tried to repurpose the content. I did some of the methods that people suggest to recover from a penalty, such as the one I received back in 2013, 2014. So I relaunched the site, and I launched like 4 others as well. And they were penalized a few months later because I was doing sort of the same sort of techniques, which, to be fair, I mean, all the mentors that I had back then, they were doing the same thing and they actually got penalized too. It was a big deal. And then late in 2014, I launched, what I'm calling just Site X. A lot of times if you see me reference like earnings, or if you saw earnings from earlier this year or even this month, you'll notice that the site was launched in 2014 as the site referenced here. It's doing very well these days. So I haven't checked the earnings today, but yesterday it was like at 10,500 for December. So that's good. Then I'll skip some steps here, but basically this is sort of like one of the crown jewels over here is the selling the site for $235,000 back in June of 2017. Worked with a good friend of mine, Rob Atkinson. You may have seen him around the YouTube channel and stuff. And yeah, it went well. And Tony says, so my income is completely dependent upon one niche site. Not exactly, but there's only so much stuff that I could share. So it's a lot. I mean, people follow little snippets of information, and maybe they see one video and not the other 10, and they only read one blog post every now and then. It's really nice to keep it simple. Just do like one thing at a time. It's easier for people to follow. Tony says, doesn't that make you very vulnerable? Perhaps. I'm not sure. I'm not too worried, Tony. But yeah, I guess so. By the way, Q&A is at the end. You can't ask questions like Tony is doing right now, especially in the beginning part. But as we get going, There are a couple things, and I'll just have to hit and go through, try not to get too distracted. And Tony, I think I see where you're going. You're going to say, hey, you need more sites, you need to diversify, blah, blah, blah. I've gone through those exercises before, and I'm comfortable, putting my eggs in one basket. And what is the Warren Buffett quote, or maybe it's Charlie Munger, I can't remember. It's like, put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket. So I'm kind of watching that basket. So why niche sites? And quick note, I say niche sites versus like authority sites. It's really just a branding thing. I mean, the sites that I have, they're very large. The content's very good. It's white hat outreach. By most definitions, someone would call that, or people that are in the authority site camp, they would say like what I have is an authority site. So it's really just semantics. But the point is, niche sites are a great way to learn like a whole bunch of skills. So you learn SEO, that's one of the big components. Content, right? We're going to talk about content today. You'll learn about like domains and hosting and DNS and some of those other details, right? And you'll also learn about themes and plugins and that sort of thing. And the cool part is, even if you don't do niche sites, right? Like even if you try it, you're like, you know what? I didn't like that part. I didn't like the whole thing together. I like this one segment, say SEO, and then you get into local SEO or some sort of client SEO. You work with bigger companies, or maybe you become like a web designer, something like that, like a developer, and you set up people's websites. So you can, like, in the idea of just like launching a niche site, you could learn like 30 independent skills, all of which you could take to be your new job. So it's a cool way to learn a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't even realize that when I got into it. Quick example, so Dave Fox, he was an old student of mine, so I coached him for a while back in 2015. This is an old screenshot, but he's making basically a full-time income, and this is from 2016, so this is the full year in 2016. 2017, he's doing even better. You can see there was a lot of growth in 2016, but yeah, I mean, he's a music teacher, musician, and basically he is making a full-time income from Amazon affiliate stuff. Now, he has a few sites, but I would say if you ask him, he knows he probably could have like grown the sites, like fewer sites bigger, and be doing like more revenue, but he enjoys the process of building and running the sites, but he has a lot of balls in the air. So, okay. Next is Rob Atkinson, who I mentioned earlier. And this, again, is from 2016. He's doing even better this year, but I haven't pestered him for any screenshots. So he made $223,000 just from Amazon, by the way. This is just from Amazon in 2016. So you can make plenty of money. And by the way, the majority of this was made from like one site. So, Tony, to your point, I mean, the focus really pays off. And, after he got one site established, he moves on to the others, right? And then he could focus there. But at some point, it's like, man, if you just put all that effort into one site, it ends up being like much bigger and better. And Tony, if you are interested, I did like a roundup post where I asked a bunch of people, like one site or 10 sites, which would you rather have? It was split, but it's interesting that, I've heard a couple people who actually said, oh, you know what, I changed my mind. I'd rather have one big site. So, and these were, influential blogger folks, but some people have come back and they've said, yeah, I'd rather just focus on one site. All right, the content techniques. Let's get into it here. And first is the FAQ method. So this frequently asked question method. And you can imagine that you write questions down and then you answer them. It's a very simple two-step process. The thing is, right, it is obvious. However, a lot of times, and I mean, I get questions basically every day where someone's like, I don't know what to write for the content. I don't understand what to do. I'm afraid I'm going to copy other people's content, and I know I can't do that, and I just want to make sure it's original. Like, what can I do? Well, if you don't know the niche, this is particularly powerful, but even if you're, even if you're an expert, you can still use it. And really, in this case, you just think about like what beginners would ask if they don't know much. I'm just gonna check something here. So the first one we're gonna go to is how to keg beer. So if people don't know, I'm a home brewer. I brew beer at home. Used to be really into it, but I haven't had as much time in the last year or so. Looking to get back more into it, but I have a kegerator, and yeah, I'm like a high-ranking beer judge and stuff. I'm really into beer. That's the point. I'm really into beer. But one of these sort of advanced concepts is around like how to keg beer, and we're just going to look at that. By the way, so this is where we're going to need some like interaction here. So what I'm going to do is click over to this, how to keg beer, and hopefully everyone will be able to see and read this thing. So this is my kegerator, or at least one of them. It's one that I actually have pictures of. I have a different one now. I built this baby. I have a chest freezer, and yeah, works really well. So anyway, the point is, it's really hard to just show up and say log into WordPress, and then you have a blank post, and you're like, I have to write a post about how to keg beer. Like, where do you even start? You don't know anything about it. You don't know much about, let's say you don't know much about copywriting either. So at this point, I've done like a lot of copywriting. I've written, hundreds of posts and just created a lot of content. But if you're just getting started, like starting with a blank page is really tough. And by the way, starting with a blank page is really tough, like regardless. So one of the best things you can do is just like sort of form an outline. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to form an outline. We're going to use questions. We're going to make it so that it's like there's no like, I guess, original thoughts you have to come up with. So we're going to, like, for the answers at least. So what you're going to do is just start thinking of like, questions around kegging beer. So people, I see there's like 31 people on here. And I didn't mention it before, but if you have like other things on, if you're like checking your email, if you are not paying much attention, you should pay attention now. I need your help. So what questions do you have about kegging beer? Like, I'll get us started. Like, why keg beer? And like, the thing is, I know the answer, like, since I know all this stuff about beer, like I was talking about, like, I know the answers, but I know like, this would be a common question, like, why keg beer? Okay, what materials? Keg. Yep. Nice critique, thanks. What else? Where do you find kegs? Nice. Where do you find kegs? You need CO2. Equipment. Where do you find kegs? What equipment? Nice. Really good questions coming in, and I'll just try and keep up the best I can. I have to expand my chat box here. All right. Do you need CO2? What are the costs? What does it do to the beer? Where to get parts? How long does a keg last? All beers be kegs? Kegged? Is it dangerous? I was just thinking, if you drink enough, yeah, definitely be dangerous. Exploding kegs, which would be bad. And how long does it last? Good question. Okay, cool. So we got 10 here in like a minute. I mean, we were limited by how quickly I could talk. So why keg beer? What materials? What do you need? Where do you find them? Where do you find kegs? Do you need CO2? What do they cost? What does it do? How long does it last? And you'll notice, right? How to prevent kids. Okay. A couple more. Keg. Does keg beer give you a headache? How do you keep kids out of the kegerator? Get the who, what, where, wow. When, what is keg beer? And what's the ideal temp? All right, and I'll close out the questions here. So after these, you could stop sending them through. What size are the kegs? What are they made of? All right, nice one, Paul. Can someone on Upwork keg beer for you? Okay, so everyone sees like all these questions. I'll come back to in a second. I'm gonna turn it off and just talk to you for a second. Okay, it took us like, it was too fast. It was too fast. It took like just a few minutes for you to come up with 16 questions. Now here's the crazy thing, right? Probably most people on here haven't ever kegged beer before. However, it's super easy to come up with questions about anything, even if you know something about it. So there's like nothing stopping you. This is even without any resources, right? If you want to tap into like, to stick with the beer theme, if you really want to tap into like the questions that real beginners also have that are about to get started kegging beer or whatever, skydiving or ice fishing or whatever, right? Go to a forum or a Facebook group if you have to, but go to a forum and they have like just thousands and tens of thousands of questions on these topics. And there are experts in there who've been writing for years about like whatever topic it is. Like whatever niche you're thinking about, there's probably some community out there where there are just super knowledgeable people who just want to share information. They're in forums a lot of times, and you'll see questions in there, right? Beginners go in there, ask questions, and then these experts answer them. There's tons of debate in there, but all the answers are in there, trust me. The other part is a lot of times you can end up going to a forum, going to like a specific, I guess, board in the forum, and you'll see like the sticky notes, right? It'll be like the master guide to getting started with kegging, and then like advanced kegging topics. And like, it's all there. And sometimes if you go to an established forum, it's all organized for you already too. The questions are there, the answers are there. Now you can't copy it exactly, but you could use it as inspiration to go dig up your own answers. Now, and again, we came up with 16, right? Without any inputs other than just like brainstorming, right? Pardon me. The other part is that like these are like perfect for like long tail keywords, right? Without even researching them, right? These are good questions because we thought of them. They're questions that you would think of when you're thinking about like a beginner looking at beer stuff. And you can basically just like draw in traffic by having these like well-formulated like subheadings, right? I'd make these like H2 headings, all the questions, and then the answers would be, the regular paragraph style beneath it. It's like perfect for SEO. You have keyword-rich stuff. You're using the same terms and thoughts as like what a real beginner would do, what a searcher, a visitor to your site would be looking for. By the way, we did a how-to, like an informational type article, but this could be like how to pick the best beer keg, right? Same kind of content. You would need this background information anyway. So like we did it for informational here, but it doesn't have to be. You can make it whatever you want. So let's see. Last cool thing that I'll say, the other useful thing, right? So people are like, I wrote like an 800-word article. I don't know how to make it longer. I just can't think of anything else to write. So this is a great way to make it longer, right? So let's say, for example, you came up with these 16 questions, and then you're going to write 2 sentences about each one. I'm just going to make some small assumptions. So you're just starting your site. You write 100 words, about 2-3 sentences for each one, just to answer the question. You don't have to be fancy. You're just straight up answering the question. You're not doing any like sophisticated, copywriting or deep research or anything. It's just like 2-3 sentences, answer the question. At that point, you have at least 1,600 words. So 16 questions, 100 words each. You got a decent amount of content. Let's say, for example, you actually do a little more research and you answer them thoroughly. Let's say you write 300 words for each one of the questions, which isn't crazy. You could like lay out some context, give a couple different versions of the answer. 300 words, it's not that much. It's 4,800 words right there, close to 5,000 words without even trying. And you can do this incrementally too. So maybe you start with 100-word answers, right? You just get through it, you go back a few weeks later when you have some time, you add it a little bit deeper, add another 100 words to each one. You're at 3,200. A couple weeks later, you got some more time, put another 100 words for each one, about 5,000 words. And again, we brainstorm this list super fast, and then you're good to go. Jay asks, this could be a huge post with a variety of questions. How would you title it? Do some keyword research and figure it out from there. But yeah, everything you wanted to know about keg beer, it could be fine, right? It could be a nice post just to have like informational stuff. You could do an infographic about it, something like that. But yeah, it could be like the ultimate guide to keg beer, something like that. Ultimate guide to whatever. You could hit a lot of broad stuff that way. Good question, Jay. Thanks. All right. Next, let's get back to the RPM. RPM, that's catchy, Alejandra is on. What's up? Good to have you on. So RPM, the research paper method. All right, I don't know how old everyone is in the chat, and you don't have to tell me, but there was a day back when I was in school, grade school, high school, even college. We did research papers, and we went to a place, this kind of crazy place where they have like just a ton of books. They're free books too. It was a library. We go to the library, we'd like grab the encyclopedia. Anybody remember these print encyclopedias? Encyclopedia Britannica, and it was amazing. If you look up anything, I remember we had, I think it was like the World Book something too. We had some old school encyclopedias from like the early 80s. I remember when I was a kid. But anyway, we'd go do research papers, and we'd just have to look up, a handful of resources. We probably had some, requirement. We had to have like 5 different references, and we'd go and we check out the encyclopedia. That was a slam dunk, right? They hit everything like in a really light way, Wikipedia style, and then there were some deeper books, right? So they went, like the Oxford Guide to whatever. There's actually an Oxford Guide to beer. Sticking with the beer theme. So the Oxford Guide to beer could be a great reference as well. And then there could be just like specific subtopics. Maybe it's like all about English beers. I think there's a couple people from the UK in here. You're talking about cask beers and Camera and stuff like that. And then maybe, I don't know if there's some people from Germany or Belgium on here, but that's a whole other story, right? You talk about Trappist beers, you talk about just like Oktoberfest and the origin of that. So I'm getting deep here into the beer stuff, but basically we had to do research papers and have multiple different references, and that's what we're going to do here. So it works well because you're going to research the topic, you're going to consume some information. Marcel does say he's old enough to remember, so that's cool. There's some other people out there that remember libraries, but you research the topic. Don't worry about writing anything there. Just research the topic, and then you create an outline. And with that outline, it makes writing the whole post so much easier, right? And if you're writing it yourself, if you have a budget or you have more time than money, or maybe you just want to learn about the topic, right? If you're interested in it, it's a good way to learn something. You can create the outline, and then you're basically like, you're good to go to just, again, keep it brief, write, relatively short answers to these questions, and then you could add to it later. If you want to, you could write it all at once too, but with the outline, it makes it a lot easier. Again, if you show up to like a blank document and you're just like, I don't know what to write, it's really hard to get started. But if you create the outline, it's like a no-brainer. It makes it so much easier. Again, we're going to go through an example, and this one's a little bit tougher than the FAQ method, but it allows you to come up with like a really good, say, buying guide. And I actually did this. So for some of the people that have heard the Project a White Hat story, this will be a review, but Project a White Hat was the site. I covered the site that Rob and I sold for over $200,000, and basically the content was bad. And I was like, hey, first thing, Rob, we gotta get this content better. I want to how many words? We had like maybe 2,000 to 3,000 words on this post. And I was like, hey, let's make it about 7,000 or 8,000. And I did the research paper method. I gave an outline to a writer, told him to write about 4,000 or 5,000 words, which he did for about $200. I added the content. It was a user's guide, or like the buyer's guide section of a review. And basically traffic went up in about 40 days, went up by about 40%. Revenue also went up by about 40%. And then I think within 90 days, gosh, I can't even remember the traffic, but the revenue went from like 10,000 a month to 32. We did have the favorable retail season, but basically, if you want to beef up your content, this is a great way to do it. You can really just come in and revise the content and add to it. And one of the reasons it works, like I said, we were going from about 2,500 words to about 7,000 or 8,000. It works because like you're getting so many more long tail keywords coming in just from a higher word count. So we were ranking well for a few terms, but the big thing was we added so much more content that we were just getting like a crazy amount of long tail keywords that we weren't even tracking. So to our knowledge, our rankings didn't change, but we just were tracking like way more traffic. Okay, gotta come off. All right, so let's get into it here. So the example we're going to do here is how to become a beer judge. So as I mentioned, I'm a high-ranking beer judge, and if I could pick whatever topic I want to talk about, I may as well talk about beer, right? So By the way, does anyone here know much about beer judging or home brewing or anything? Is this a fun example, or people like, we don't care about that, Doug? We want to talk about some other kind of spirit or alcohol. Okay, so here's the deal. How to become a beer judge. Here's how you do this. So it's pretty straightforward as well. Basically, you're going to have to do a little research ahead of time before you do the outline. So you really can just Google like how to become a beer judge, right? Super straightforward. It's not anything complicated, right? It's just Googling it and then looking at the steps. And a couple people, Tony did used to brew real ale, which is cool. Jay knows how to drink beer. That, you know what? That counts. And Paul has brewed lots of beers. Super cool. Awesome. Okay. So usually, right? Usually Google's pretty darn good at putting the best results at the front. So these, like most of the results, like in the top 5, are like pretty legit sites. In fact, it's funny, the Serious Eats is listed here, but BJCP is actually like the beer judge certification program that I'm part of. And basically just open a few of these. I opened 3 just to keep it simple. And I'm just gonna read a little bit and sort of like hit the high points and then tell you how to organize it. So Serious Eats, like I could tell off the bat that, and just knowing Serious Eats, like I know they're gonna keep it like a pretty like easy and straightforward, I guess, approach. It's not going to be fully detailed, and I can see they have it numbered, right? So this, if anybody's curious about how to get the featured snippet, you kind of have to have like richly formatted text, like a numbered list, bulleted list, or a table. So just file that in your SEO memory there. So basically, they tell us a little bit about the details. So they open it up, and they talk about why judge beer. So it's important to read this part too, and I'm not going to read it to you, but it's important to read it so you could like understand the type of person that is going to read an article like this, like why someone cares. And they take us through the step-by-step. So make a beer and decide if BJ CP is right for you. Okay. They want to make sure you're into home brewing. They talk about the Certified Cicerone program, which is, it's like a sommelier for beer. Give it back to the community. Okay, steward some competition. So stewards are sort of like, they're like judging assistants for homebrew competition. So I'm just laying the context. Again, we can't rush in here and start making an outline before we know what we're talking about. So the other part is like we see the pictures. So these are judges like judging beer. There's a score sheet. You can see they're taking it very seriously, right? They're taking it super seriously, and we do that as beer geeks and nerds and stuff. So you should volunteer, check it out, see if you're interested in such a thing. Take a training course. Okay, so the best courses are in-person classes with local BJCP judges. I actually gave one here in the Bozeman area. The whole state of Montana only had like 6 judges, including myself, when I got here. But I gave a test, and now there are like 10 in town here. So it's kind of awesome. And we just got together and drank a lot of beer and talked about it. It was pretty fun. Okay, so as we go through, we see you take the entrance exam, sign up for a tasting exam. Okay, so you have to take an entrance exam and a tasting exam. Okay, interesting. And then it says judge and get experience while you wait for the tasting exam. Okay, cool. And then crush the exam. So you take the exam and then be a great judge. Okay, so that's sort of the baseline. So we read one resource. We kind of have an idea of what's going on. And then Jonathan is saying, Mr. Beer, said Mr. Beer starter kits taste nasty. You know, if I brewed or a qualified brewer like brewed something with Mr. Beer, it could turn out okay. There's so many details. All right. Okay, moving on, and I'll speed through this. I know me reading about beer stuff is less fun. Okay, so we're at the Beer Judge Certification Program, and this is, you can tell it looks like a site from like 1995, and it may actually be. Um, is that bad? So as we go through here, we see this is just kind of a home page, and it doesn't really tell us exactly what we're looking for. So, okay, that's not great, but what we could do is go to the exam center here and frequently asked questions. So how do I become a beer judge? So you take an online test, you pass the tasting exam. Okay, cool. So they keep it pretty straightforward here, but one of the flaws with the BJCP is just there's so much information on here, and there's so many links and so much content. It's actually a little hard to figure it out, and that is precisely why this Serious Eats is ranking a little better, because it's just more straightforward to see. It's just more straightforward to see like what's going on. So let's look at one more source before we go on. So craftbeer.com. And okay, so this seems pretty straightforward. I think they're lightly associated with the Brewers Association, which is, I think, the parent company of the American Homebrewers Association. So a couple things to know. So they talk about a couple of different types of style guidelines. So the beer judge certification is kind of what we're focused on here for homebrew judging. So they do say, they finally get to it, and they say, practice judging beer, identify off flavors, expand your vocabulary, steward and volunteer, and then they have some beginner's resources. Okay, so it's almost like a brain dump here of the information, and there's no like clear path for becoming a judge, but again, it gives us a lot of background information. Now, if I click over here back to the BJCP Exam Center, where the tagline is, it's tough but fair, which is pretty funny. I used to be a grader for BJCP as well. Okay, so they go through a few details as we're looking a little closer, like how do I register for the tasting exam? Okay, so they give a little more detail, and great. The overview says the beer judge exam is how the beer judge enthusiast becomes a beer judge in the BJCP. So it covers a lot of stuff. The online exam. Okay, so we kind of have an idea of what's going on. So everybody's still with me. I just want to check in. So basically, this is the part where we went to the library, like going back to my glorious high school days, which actually, I was going to say when I was home, like back in my parents' home, rather, in Georgia, I had I found like a couple like rolls of photos or whatever, just a stack of photos. And yeah, there were middle school and high school pictures in there, which are just pretty funny. I'll have to share those soon. Anyway, the point is, we're looking through the resources. We're just trying to like put together this jumble of kind of unorganized information together. And this is precisely why it's super hard to just like show up to a blank document and try and write something. It's not organized yet. And that's what we're going to do, the outline. So we have like some idea of like what happens. And luckily I do actually have some idea of like what happens. So it won't be like starting from scratch or anything like that. And we're just going to use like this straight up. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen again. We'll use just like a bulleted list. Actually, we'll use like an outline format, right? So let's stay true to the outline idea. We'll just use like a straight up outline like this. And again, you can actually like send this to a writer, and it's super helpful for them to have an idea about like what you want. So if you just sent the title, How to Become a Beer Judge, and you gave it to a writer, they may come up with the wrong kind of judge, right? Maybe they would like focus on like professional brewing versus home brewing, and like providing an outline for them and links is super helpful. So we would say, and I wrote some of this down earlier just to make it a little easier. So there are some prereqs to this whole situation here. So there are prereqs, and we shouldn't have moved to a whole other page there. So there are some prereqs. You do have to have like brewing and like beer knowledge. So that's something we did pick up from one of the. It's something that we picked up from one of the like craftbrewer.com or whatever it was. So that's one thing, and they gave us a couple of examples. There's obviously more, like you would have to like know how to homebrew just in general, but you could also, they mentioned like off flavors and vocabulary, and just like knowing how to brew. The reason like, it's important is like you're gonna have to judge beers and tell people about like suggestions. So that's why you have to know that kind of stuff. And if you read the details a little closer at the BJCP, then you would know that. Okay, so after that, you can also get just some experience in a judging setting. So that is stewarding, and then attending an in-person class. So that's pretty cool. And then next after that is you have to take the online exam, and that was mentioned in the first section, or the first resource we looked at. So it's an online exam, and it covers a variety of things. They tell us at the BJCP. I didn't read that part, but we would want to cover it, right? So it covers technical aspects of brewing. I have to cough here in a second. So if I disappear, that's why. Okay. You have to know some world beer styles and the purpose of BJCP and the criteria for judging. Procedures and ethics and stuff like that as well. All right, I'm gonna have to get a cough drop too. So any questions on the process so far? I'm dying over here, sorry everyone. Okay, so as we go through here, we would also want to know like all the details of like the exam structure, of which, as I mentioned, like the BJCP has a lot of that information. I didn't bore you with it, but it's here, and we would want to include a link in the actual like post that we're going to create. All right, hopefully we'll push through this hard part, and then we'll get there. All right, a couple more things. So once you take care of the prereqs, then at that point, you can get into the actual test taking portion of the whole thing, which of course is what it's all about. And so you would take the online exam, you would sign up for the written test, which is like the judging exam, and then study for the exam, and then take the exam, right? So just pretty straightforward there. And there are some details probably in this portion of it where you would perhaps do, you take the online exam. Maybe you have to study for it first or something like that. I'm just putting like some sub topics in here just in case they're there, but we don't have to go into all that detail for this exercise. So basically, you could go, a quick recap, so you Google like whatever the topic is. Again, this is quite effective for like buying guides and stuff, so that you can just like, create the ultimate guide to picking whatever product it is, right? This is how to, but you could cover whatever you want. You read several resources, kind of get a picture in your head about like what the process is like. Then you create your outline, putting in what details you think are relevant. And then when you end up with this, you can, what you should do Go ahead and paste the resources here so you can reference them later. You can even put links at the end of your article. Recommend that. So if you do have a writer, you know where you looked, right? Understand like the reference point. They can go, if there are other links within the document or within the links like these, right? They can go and research those, and like they have some idea about like the context and reference point of the situation, right? Of what you want to do. So there we have this whole like outline, and again, you can see it's quite easy to like write a few hundred words for each one of these sections. You go look it up, go to forums again, go to, if there's a parent sort of organization like the BJCP, you could get tons of information there. And I mean, these almost write themselves after you have an outline. And you spend, an hour, maybe 2 hours doing research, right? You're not going to be able to just like half-ass this, right? This is it's sort of like the root, the foundation, right, of the article. So it pays off to actually like spend the time here, especially if you're handing it off to a writer. The more info you could give the writer, like the better the article is going to be. All right. So that was our example for the RPM. And again, it's a great way to just like beef up a piece of content that just needs more words on it. So quick note, we're going to hit the Q&A here in a second. I do want to mention a lot of people have been asking about a course. So I do have a course. It's going to be enrollment is going to open like in January. There's no pitch here. You can't buy anything here. But since a lot of people asked about it, I just want to let you know. So it's in January, 5-figure niche site. And there's Dave Fox back there. So Dave is, a successful sort of case study using the material from the course. It's Rob Atkinson down there. Again, he's doing quite well overall. And a lot of the material from the course, I actually developed working with Rob and Dave. It was created using proven tactics, techniques, and strategies. So it goes from not having a niche or really knowing how to do keyword research to actually launching your site, getting traffic, getting outreach. Cool thing, guy emailed me today. I don't think he's on this call, but he enrolled in October and he already has his first sale. He was like, is this exceptional? Like, do people usually get sales that fast? It's rare, right? There's been a handful. There's always a few people in each enrollment period. But yeah, before the course is even over, he's gotten his first sales. All right, let's do the Q&A. So if you're interested, just make sure you're on the email list, which if you're here, you should be on the email list. And yeah. All right, so I'm here to answer questions now. So Barbie says, no message that the webinar started, so you're late. Sorry about that. You'll get a replay link later, probably. I am pretty sure some people were telling me that they didn't get the email for like a webinar that I did the other day. So I don't know what's up. I'm pretty sure, I set these up all the same way. So I'm pretty sure. I will double check. So what questions do you have here? And yeah, just keep them coming in and I'll get to them in just a second as I'm double checking the reminder emails on this baby. Just gonna look at the, 4 emails. Yeah, you should have gotten one 15 minutes before it starts. So I wonder if they're ending up in spam, which is just unfortunate. I believe they're sent from the old Webinar Jam server, so who knows? Interesting. So people didn't get any emails. Hey, just curious if the people that didn't get the reminders, if you could check your inbox, or sorry, your spam folder. Check your spam folder. Let me know if it's there, because like we have way fewer people on here than I expected. So okay, Nayland, yeah. So there will be a replay link. There will be a replay link. But if you didn't get a reminder, then I don't know what's up. So I will check. I'll check on it. Okay, Marcel says, am I getting US-based writers on Upwork for $15 for 1,000 words? The answer is yes, I am. Furman UK says, you didn't get any emails. Barbie says it's not in spam. Nothing in the spam folder either. Nayland says, you got it, no worries. Okay, the webinar reminder was 45 minutes late in your mailbox. All right. Well, good to know. Thanks, everyone, for letting me know. It is unfortunate. I mean, I don't know what to do. I'm lucky the server didn't crash in the middle. All right. And by the way, for the people that are on, I do a regular, just straight up Q&A. Oh, whoa, I hit the desk. A straight up Q&A on YouTube live stream. So I'm just gonna paste like my YouTube channel in somewhere. Actually, I'll put it in this sticky note. Yeah, the replay should come, I think, in a few hours. I think I have it sending like 4 hours later or something like that. And then, yeah, you can get to it there. So just trying to. My YouTube channel is there. Okay, so Nayland, okay. My YouTube channel is there, so I do a Q&A on Fridays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which is the same time this thing started. So if you want to show up for those, it'd be awesome. Always good to have people on. But go to the channel, you can subscribe there, and for like the notifications and stuff, you do have to like click the bell and say, yeah, I want to get notifications. And you can watch live. You'll get like reminders when I send out when I schedule the live events or when I publish a new video. So a lot of times those will end up going, if you're using Gmail, it'll go to your like promotion tab. So hopefully it won't be like too annoying or anything. But all right, any questions about content? Is this like, how did everyone like this? Is it helpful? All right, Greg says, good content, thanks. Appreciate it, Greg. Nayland says, what kind of questions can we ask? That one works. You can ask the questions you want to know. Okay. I wanted to know how you can rank content for competitive terms. Does ranking competitive terms always require links? Yeah, basically. Yeah, you need links. Guest post links are good. If you're looking for like white hat outreach and stuff like that, I would check out the Hoth. I like those guys over there. But basically, if you want to do like white hat outreach and do it the right way, get to do it yourself. People that are like trying to sell you services and stuff, a lot of times they don't know what they're doing. They're not good at it. They're just out there like spamming the internet. Barbie, I get writers, yeah, on Upwork. Name, please. I don't submit, I don't give out names of my contractors, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Sarab says, amazing work. Thank you. Appreciate it, Sarab. Thanks for hopping on. How do I check the content quality? Just read it, just read it. If you're not a native English speaker, you should have an editor. Just check it over. It should be relatively inexpensive. Probably if I just had to throw something out, you probably should be able to hire someone for $8 to $11 an hour, and they should be able to like edit probably 3 to 4 like 1,000-word posts per hour. So if you're unsure, just get an editor to check it out. But basically, just read it. F says, nice structure, appreciate it. The Furman, it's helpful to get you started with content gathering. Marcel says, good. Okay, good to go. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, sorry, losing my voice here, but okay. Rom says, thanks for introducing the methods. It's useful. You're welcome. Do I think these methods will help outrank sites that are beefed up with shady PBN links? What are the odds for putting up a ton of valuable content only to be outranked by PBN-backed sites? Let's see. So if you're competing against sites that have backlinks, whether they're PBNs or not, you too will have to get links. So my advice is don't fight it, right? If you're like, you know what, I just want to put up great content, I don't want to build links, like you're going to be playing in a different sandbox than everyone else, right? If you want to compete on bigger terms, more competitive terms where everyone's using links, there's going to be more money there. People are going to be willing to invest more. If you want to play in that arena, like you have to get links. So my advice would be, don't fight it. Just embrace the fact that you have to do link building. If you don't want to build links, you can use something like the keyword build ratio. Covered that last week in the webinar. So if you're interested in not having to use backlinks, you do have to go after low competition stuff. Like there's no way around it. So I'll answer your questions now after that prereq, Ron. So do I think the methods will help you outrank sites that, I'm going to rephrase your question and just say, help outrank sites that have links? The answer is no. If you're competing, it's like showing up to, what do they say? Showing up to a gunfight with a knife. Like it's just not going to work, right? You're underpowered. Like if you want to compete, you got to show up, you got to prepare ahead of time, and you have to get links as well. The other question, what are the odds for putting up a ton of valuable content to be outranked by someone with links? Chances are like 100%, right? So some of my friends over at Income School, good guys, Jim and Ricky, should have an interview coming up over there before too long. Basically, you can, given enough time, you can make some money without any links. But I think you're going to be handicapped, right? You're not going to be making 10K a month with one site and no links. You have to do some kind of promotion. Okay, Rob, hopefully I answered your question. Paul says, do I have any formatting issues copy and pasting into WordPress from Word? Not specifically, but I don't usually do that, but I can imagine there are issues. I used to. Sorry, gonna move the lozenge. So it gets kind of goofy. It generally pastes okay, but not great. And I usually don't work in Word. I use Google Docs. All right, Barbie says, no name. Okay, cool. Do I buy in bulk? No, you're on Upwork all the time and the prices are higher. I don't know, I just have maybe I'm not sure. But for the last few years, I've been able to hire. I've slowly raised my prices. I used to pay like $10, but now I've slowly climbed up to, 15 for that amount. And that seems to work for me. I'm not sure. In a couple weeks, I'm doing another webinar on hiring people. So maybe you can, hop on there, see if you pick anything up on that. Nayland says, suppose you're writing content on topics like overcoming anorexia, or getting over jock itch. There won't be many blogs out there in those niches. I think your assumption may be wrong. So there are quite a few, I think, on eating disorders and stuff. The getting over jock itch, there's probably not as many. You're right about that. So how do you go about outreach for white hat links? So that would be like sports sites, right? So go to sports sites, athletic, outdoor, stuff like that. where, I'm talking about the jock itch one. And then you can sort of think about the audience that would be attracted or interested in the jock itch stuff that you're like you picked for your niche, and then figure out what that audience is also interested. So they'd be athletic, sports enthusiast, or something like that. There's always a way. In fact, if you want, you could throw out crazy niches at me and I'll tell you like where you could get guest posts. I mean, there's websites and stuff about everything. Dennis says, can I recommend any tools for finding content ideas? No, I don't know of any. I would suggest just going to the top 3 blogs in whatever niche you're looking at and see what they write about, and then you'll get ideas. Barbie says, I am not a link builder at all, and I have page 1 rank 3 page. I am in 100 difficulty. Okay. Well, sounds like you're doing a great job. If you have any tips, let me know. Like, how were you able to do that? And what do you mean by 100 difficulty? I don't understand what that means. Pratik says, how do you split test on a blog post to see which one converts more? Well, I don't really do that. But if you wanted to, you could create like different tracking IDs and see like which one makes more sales. Nayland says, so basically you can approach related niches for outreach. Correct. So Rob says, thanks for the advice, but you're getting some rehash and rewritten content. Most of the time I catch them, but sometimes it's really hard to tell and eventually it results in harming the site. Gotcha. And I'm just looking back. I mean, I think it goes back to hiring like the right kind of people. So, if you're telling them like, hey, I want you to use these 5 resources, make sure it's originally written, make sure it looks, like it follows a different structure than the other content out there. Like if they understand that the resources that they're going to use and you tell them the right way to do it, then I think you'll end up with better results. So, I mean, I think that helps. And by the way, like I said, I have an editor. I don't necessarily like go and have the editor check to see that it's originally written, since I'm working with certain like people that, I've vetted their work, hired them for a couple trial jobs before I bring them in long term. I know that they if you know more than them, if you're like, hey, use these resources, I know it's going to be hard to come up with some original ideas. Just be sure it's put together in a unique way, blah, blah, blah. Then you're probably going to end up with better results. All right, what other questions do we have here? Any other questions? Right. Yeah, weird about the reminder emails. I think it may be something with the deliverability of the server, or I don't know what's up with Webinar Jam. Okay. So Rob, cool. Glad it's helpful. Barbie says on Upwork, the writer is not native or not. Barbie, I'm not sure what you're asking. Can you rephrase it? I'm not even sure if that's a question. I don't know what that means. All right. Paul says your emails came in fine. Good to know. Barbie says, is the writer American or foreign? They are native English speakers. So a lot of times they are in America, sometimes from the UK, sometimes Australia, maybe Canada. So it could be a Canadian in some other place. So just native English is what I go for. Pratik says, do I measure which source of traffic converts on Amazon, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter? No. I get like the majority of the traffic from organic search. I don't think that social traffic is worth your time, just in general. If someone's on Facebook, they're trying to be like distracted, or if someone's on Instagram, they're like looking at pictures. If they're on Twitter, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I never got into Twitter, but yeah, basically, like if you want to get stuff that converts well, if you want to get traffic that converts well, you'll need to make sure you're getting targeted traffic, people that are actually searching for buying type terms. But yeah, if you're if you're trying to pull someone from Instagram, trying to get them to like buy something, I hope you're Amazon retargeting them, right? So I do see, if I'm over on Amazon browsing for something, I will occasionally see in my Instagram feed those items in which I'm looking for, because Amazon has the data and they can run the ads and they know that I'm looking at that. You don't have that data and all that. So anyway, Ram says, any tips on how to tweak these methods to make content that seals the spot for us on rich results? No. I can give you tips that can help increase the probability, but there's no surefire way. It's super easy. So use numbered list, use unordered lists, right? And then tables. If you do those 3 things, you'll have a much higher likelihood of having the featured snippet. Pratik says, last one. Oh, you could ask more questions, Pratik. There's no rush here, buddy. So last question from Pratik. Do you use the add to cart feature so the cookie life is more than 1 day? Yeah, I think you get like a 90-day cookie or 60-day cookie. No, it sucks. I don't use the add to cart. It's a terrible user experience. You ever tried it? You ever, you see someone like put a link, they put a link in the text and you're like, oh, I'm curious, like what are the features of this, what are the features of this widget? I want to see the details on Amazon. And you click the button and it's like, no picture, no nothing. You're on an add to cart page on Amazon. And I'm like, there's no information. It sucks. The people telling you to put these 90-day cookies on it and stuff, they're normally, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Check it and then come back and let me know. When they're telling you to put this add to cart feature, they're an affiliate for a plugin that does that, right? Am I right? Tell me, Pratik. Is it like someone telling you, oh, you need to use this plugin over here called blah, 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 Azon, and there's a 90-day cookie, and instead of a 24-hour cookie, your earnings are going to skyrocket, blah, blah, blah. Is that what you heard? Because the person that told you is selling you something, or they're an affiliate, right? So you got to remember that people have certain incentives for telling you things. So if they're making money from it, then there's your incentive. Now, me, right? I'm going to eventually sell something, my course in January, but you'll know it, and I'll tell you, and there'll be no mistake about it, and you'll know the incentive, right? But right now, I'm just trying to be helpful, and since I'm not an affiliate for very many things, I can talk freely. So, all right, Pratik, yeah, let me know. Dennis says, do affiliate links on images or buttons convert any better? It depends. It does depend, and there's no way to really know other than to test. For me, I do prefer text links, right? I prefer text links in general and a strong call to action. But other sites, other niches, even even sites within the same niche, they convert a little differently. So you always have to test. But I would just pick one, put a variety on your site, and you should be fine. There's no like big advantage to like doing split testing, unless you just have like a ton of traffic. Or you're super advanced, by the way. I mean, like, you can get some benefits from split testing if you have like a lot of traffic and you have the revenue and I guess resources, rather, time and money to actually get those tests done. All right. Bill says, what's more important, DA or PA for analyzing your competition? On a per page basis, it is PA, the page authority. So it's really more important to look at the page authority just in general. But the thing is, like, you could go out and find multiple examples where that's not the case and the DA is more important. So it depends. There's a variety of factors. All right, Brandy says, you notice some people ranking on the first page have a majority of no-follow links, or maybe one or two follow, and the rest are no-follow links becoming more beneficial. Brandy, solid question. Thank you. It's such a good question. I actually don't even know the answer. But I don't know if they're becoming more beneficial, but I've always said that no-follow links are part of a healthy backlink profile. Like many people, right? It's not my original idea or anything, but basically, you can get no-follow links, and if they're relevant, traffic is coming through them, like those are good links to have. So I would say, my backlinking, which in a couple weeks I'm doing a webinar on like the SEO portion of like a niche site, and basically it's simple, right? You got blog commenting, guest posting. The blog comments, those are no follow, but usually they're relevant. That's a good thing. Okay, Sarab says, thanks, Brandy, for the question. Sarab says, I have a site that was ranking for a year, but he recently lost the ranking. 6 months ago, it was getting 1,000 page views a day. Now it's 100. Earnings have gone down from 3K to 500. What should you do? You should figure out why the rankings went down and then fix that part. So, a couple ways to approach it, because I know that's a dumb answer, right? Figure out what went wrong and then fix it. So, Sarab, tell me what you think went wrong. Like, what analysis did you do? So what did you do? So I would look at your competition, see who took over, take a look at their content, look at their on page, and then look at their off page. Break it down from there. So look at their on page, look at the length of the content, look at the keywords, look at the keyword density, look at the images, videos, rich, other rich media and stuff like that. What about their subheadings? How many subheadings do they have? What are in their subheadings? Are they keyword rich, not keyword rich? Do they cover frequently asked questions? What's in there? See where you're off. See where you don't match up with the average of, say, like the first, say, 3 or 4 from an on-page perspective. Off-page, go look at their links. See what they have going on. See how many links they have. Where are they coming from? What's the average DA? What's the average PA? Look at the domain rating on Ahrefs, the trust flow. Go do an analysis on your competition and see where your gap is. Then fix that. You probably need more links. Marcel says, the only plugin people preaching the 90-day cookie. Oh yeah, Marcel, just like Thrive pitching the fancy buttons, claiming they convert better. Yep, for sure. Ram says, just wondering what gives us a better chance at ranking higher on Google. One long form post that has 1,500 words versus 15 posts that are 1,000 words each, linking to each other. You think the latter will give you more topical relevance? Please correct me if I'm wrong. It depends. So it depends. I have some long content, 15,000 words, and I have some short content that's 1,000 words. You have to know why you're doing each one. So if you're doing keyword golden ratio stuff, then the latter. If you are trying to rank for some big term, right, some really competitive terms, the former. So it depends. A good site has both. Brandy says, how can I sign up for the SEO webinar? You found this one through the coffee YouTube video. That's cool. It actually worked. At least one person came through that way. Let me find the link here. Basically, the other part is when you signed up for this, I think you had the ability to sign up for like the, what do you call it? What do you call it? Maybe I am getting sick. My brain's like turning to mush here. You can auto subscribe to future ones. So I'll pull the link for you. So this isn't the other one's in a couple weeks, but I'm doing one next week too. I'm doing these like often. I'm doing these every Thursday at 10 a.m. And what I can do is I'll put the link in here for the SEO one, but there's actually one on 17 ways to improve income and boost conversions. And I'm doing that next week, but I just posted the link for the SEO one coming up in a couple weeks. For my old corporate job, I got really good at muting, when the time's right. So Brandy, hopefully that link will work for you. John says, is it necessary to cloak Amazon affiliate links? Why or why not? No, and you shouldn't cloak the links. Amazon doesn't like that. It is, against the terms of service to like cloak the links. Anybody else having connection problems? Barbie says there's connection problems, but I don't know what's going on with Barbie. It could be on your end. Cool, great questions today. Good crew, even though it's a little smaller than I thought it was going to be. All right, so Rob says, per the question before, asking about losing rankings. So you've done some research, you think the content is low quality, you've lost some backlinks, you're working on it. Cool, yeah. Most of the time, like sometimes it's nothing, right? Sometimes like stuff changed, like whatever. I was ranking pretty high for a couple terms and I've dropped down. I was like, I think I had a featured snippet for a little while. So I was like position 0, for 2 months or something. And then I dropped down to like number 4, which I think that was sort of like the natural rank. And then I've dropped down to like 10 or 11. And then the last few weeks I've dropped down to like 20. I'm bouncing between like 20, 24, 15, like just every couple days it'll go up and down. I don't know why. It probably has to do with backlinks. I probably need some more backlinks. All right, cool. Ram says, you'll test it out. Can I clue you in on on-page optimization methods that supercharge the content methods? Any guides like backlinko? No, I mean, come to the webinar next week. That's what I'm talking about. So I'll cover it then. There's 17 sort of things that I go over. So check that out. But yeah, there's no like ultimate guides that I swear by. I mean, if you have the user in mind, you're trying to help them out as much as you can. That's usually like the best thing you can do. Well, and actually I'll mention another thing. Like some people are like, oh, you know what? I want to put in more affiliate links. Like, can you please put in like how many affiliate links can I put in? And I don't put that many affiliate links in because if you get the right kind of user on the page and your content's good enough to keep them engaged, like you're not going to have to put so many affiliate links, right? And the logic that the people are using is like the more affiliate links, the more chances a person has to click over, which is true, but just because there's more chances doesn't mean they're going to, take that opportunity. What it looks like is an overly salesy page where it's like desperate, where it's like you're begging them to click an affiliate link. But if you get the right traffic on there, then you don't have to worry about it, like they'll want to check out that product. If you wrote good, content, or if content is engaging, right? You're not going to have to hit them over the head with links trying to get them over there. You just have to give them the right call to action. I usually say like one affiliate link per maybe 250, 300, 400 words or so. Again, if it's a strong call to action, check this product out on Amazon. It's like only the people that are interested are clicking on that, not the people who don't care. You'll have a higher conversion rate. You may have fewer clicks over, but it's really more important to get the right people over to Amazon, not every single person. It'd be great to do that, but again, you don't want to look desperate, right? All right, what else do we have? What else do we have going on here? Cool. Nadine says, you tested your site through SiteLiner. I don't know what that is, but I'll check it out. And you found out that 19% is duplicate content. That sounds high to me. That seems pretty high. I'm not sure what is appropriate, but that seems a little bit high. If you look at the content, I would check to see if it's like quotes, right? If it's quotes, then maybe that's okay. And next, Dennis says, how do I get links to guest posts to affiliate pages? You find that many bloggers only want to link to info pages. So I usually don't have an issue with it. So I would recommend make sure you have a good relationship with the blogger, make sure your content's really good. If it's overly, if it's overly salesy, then you're probably gonna have trouble getting a link to it. But if it's a reasonable post that's helpful, then it's probably gonna be able to get links to it. Okay, so I'm checking out SiteLiner. Sounds cool. I'll take a quick look at that. Interesting, very cool. Okay, so Rob says, what do I think of the right ratio of content? Best content versus informative content? 50-50 is a good ratio. So half info, half product related is a good ratio. All right, any other questions? By the way, I have a regular Q&A tomorrow. So again, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe please, and you can, actually, it would be really cool since I know a handful of people, I answered a lot of your questions, as a personal favor to me, if you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then if you have the opportunity to share the Q&A that'll be going on tomorrow, you should see it scheduled on there, and you could set a reminder, but if you have any friends, or if you're in a Facebook group where people would be interested in going to a Q&A where I answer questions and whisper into the microphone like this, if they're into that, share it with them. I really would appreciate it. Trying to get more people on live streams like that. And it's a lot of this and just even more random questions, since I'll answer whatever. Those have been very popular in the last few weeks with my new close microphone to mouth approach here. It's only going to get better. Whoa, that's a hot tea. All right, I think we made it through all the questions, so we're going to call it a day. Don't forget, more webinars coming up in the next few weeks. Everybody have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one. So thanks.